And we are, let's come a little bit forward now. Should be near the screen. And we are rolling on August 14th, 2018. Well, it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles, isn't it? God, we're so lucky. No fires. Here at UCLA, anyway. The sunshine is shining. Our campus is gorgeous. As we walk around, we don't put in our earbuds or get on our phones. We notice the beautiful manicured lawns and bushes and just a beautiful architectural delight. It's our campus. And today, Lizette is standing in the power position. Yes, she is. She's managing attention. She's making sure all eyeballs are upon her. Phones are away. Computers are closed. She's managing attention. She's communicating respect nonverbal. She's saying to herself, I respect my audience, and she really means it. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Lizette.
Hi, Lizette.
So today I'm going to start my speech with a quote from author Brian H. McGill. And he once stated, one of the most sincere forms of respect is actually listening to what others have to say. So from this assignment, we were to assess how people would act when we would say silently to them, I respect you. And from this, I learned that to earn respect and to get it back from people, you have to make sure you make eye contact. Your body language is poised and listen basically attentively to other people. So throughout this assignment, I experienced some good, some bad, and some ugly situations. So I'm going to discuss one of the good situations. One of the positive experiments where I had were with feedback with my manager. I always make sure that I make eye contact with her, and because I did that, so I had to go beyond that to make sure she could notice. So I would say thank you very much. And she noticed that I did the extra effort. So then she came upon to actually, to let me know that she really appreciated that what I do for the department. And because of that, she actually gave me a $5 credit to my brewing card. So I was like, wow, this actually goes a long way. And because of this, I noticed that the work environment works smoothly because there's constructive criticism. With that, people could actually take comments and take them to grow upon themselves, not like see them as a way to be kind of disrespected. So from this assignment in my workplace, I learned that when people respect you, you feel appreciated, and because of that, you feel like you want to contribute even more. However, I did encounter a bad situation. Most of the time, I was ignored by people when I would do this. I would address people, and instead of looking, making eye contact, they would just continue on their phones. And even though I was facing them, they would never face me. So I concluded from this that our society is like this because of technology. The innovation of cell phones doesn't require face-to-face communication. So because of this, people feel like it's not an obligation. So the worst part was I also encountered a very ugly situation. So I was trying, ugly really didn't occur face-to-face, but I tried it through the phone. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be respectful to this customer. And they called asking, oh, can I have a number to a certain department within the store? Because I work at the UCLA store. And so I started off by the area code. And when I got to midpoint, she said, can you repeat yourself? And I was like, of course. So I started repeating myself. And then she just rudely interrupted me and was like, obviously you don't speak English, so can I get someone who knows what they're doing? And I was like, excuse me, like, what language am I speaking then? And they're like, well, you don't know what you're speaking, so get me someone who's a supervisor. And I was like, well, you're talking to the supervisor, so what can I do for you? And basically, they just hung up, and I noticed that because of this, no face-to-face communication, it's easy to like brush off rudeness, right? And because of this, I learned that because there's no face-to-face communication, it's easier because there's no immediate consequences, and they don't have to face someone. So from this whole assignment, I learned that people could be respectful, and there's people who are just disrespectful, even though you give respect to them. And so overall, I learned that this is just gonna continue just because of the innovation technology. So I feel like to fix it ourselves, we could try to communicate face to face so we could kind of break the cycle of negativity.
Thank you. Can you step back a little bit? You got out of my range. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah. Let's start in the front. Stand up, say your name, and say what you like.
Hi, my name's John.
Hi, John.
I really liked your energy as like the first person. You really gave me some confidence just standing up there and leading cavalry.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Those were good comments. Yeah. Improvement.
Hi everyone, my name's Alec.
Hi, Alec.
The only thing that I'd say you can improve on is kind of, it seemed like you're fixated towards like one end of the room and you're kind of staring in like that direction. If you just kind of like give attention to like other parts of the room or maybe change like direction which you're facing, that might help a little bit.
Okay. Great. Well, I like your speech. Let's start with that issue of eye contact. When you're over here, you work this side of the room, but glance over there so you're not blowing them off. When you come over to this side, and you didn't quite come far enough until the end of it, work that side, but glance over there, and then come back to the middle and finish up in the middle. And don't come so close to the camera, folks. You really crowded me. I had to adjust the camera. Well, it was a great speech. You're very fluent. You're very likable. I'd like to see you lose the card. You don't need it. It hurts your credibility. Lisa, you told us author Bryant H. McGill, you said, I'm going to start my speech with a quote. Just start it. Don't say I'm going to start it. Just say, author Bryant McGill once said, you know, lose the extra words. You had a good transition to your thesis. Like to see you with your voice a little better so the narrative comes clear. So unfortunately there was good, bad, and ugly, and so you make a pact with your audience that way. So then you say, on the good, and then tell us a story about how your manager noticed that you were especially respectful, and the result, and I told you this, free apple pie, etc., you got $5 on your Bruin card. People want to reciprocate when they're respected. It happens all the time. And you don't do it to get $5 on your Bruin card. You do it because it's the right thing to do to respect people. So that was a good story, and it shows that the respect exercise does work. On the bad, yes, we know that people, butt up and telephone up and put on blinders and head out toward the dorm or their next class, and they could care less about this gorgeous campus we have, you know. It's a pity. On your ugly encounter, it's always, it's always tough to hear these people say, "Don't you speak English?" And I've heard worse, you know, and I don't like to hear it, but it's a fact of life. I thought you handled it nicely. But when you are confronted with this kind of "don't you speak English," that's when you have to repeat the mantra instead of saying, getting mad and, you know, striking back in kind, yeah. When you got to what I learned, Lisa, you didn't really articulate one or two or three things very clearly. And I would have liked to have had a little better tie back to your quote about listening. So remember what my author, Bryant McGill, told us, that, you know, we really want to be respectful, give off the vibe, be a good listener. And we know you've come full circle. But overall, really excellent job. Thank you. Okay. Do we have another volunteer? Come on down. If not, I'll just get the roll sheet and start calling on people. Oh, yeah, spit out that evil gum. You chew gum, huh? Okay, we'll talk about that sometime. Okay. There you go, perfect. You're a little close to the wall, like you're afraid of the class. So right one step away is better, yeah. Just don't get any closer to me, because that will ruin the camera shot. Well, Idalia, stands before us, managing attention in the power stance. The hands on the hips is a little aggressive, so just let them be by your side. She's looking around the room to make sure all eyeballs are upon her. Put that evil phone over there that you're texting. That's a violation of the rules. Nothing can be more important than my class. Thank you. She's managing attention, communicating respect. Adalia is saying, "I respect my audience," and really means it. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name's Idalia.
Hi, Adalia.
Well, I've done some research and I've noticed that our generation has changed a lot because especially technology, our cell phones, electronics like games, earphones, earbuds, everything. And it's really devastating to notice that a lot of us don't really interact face to face with a lot of people. And like Instagram, Snapchat, we have thousands of friends. But in reality, how many of those thousands of friends have we really ever truly met face to face? So this brings me to this experiment where we're learning how to really interact with pretty much strangers and look straight into the eyes and genuinely say, "I respect you," but internally not to them. And while in this experiment, there was good, bad, and ugly. And in the good, it was a very good experience for myself and hopefully for the other person. And I was at the dining hall, and I made eye contact with this guy, and he looked kind of down at first. He wasn't in a happy mood. So I kind of noticed that I wanted to smile, so I smiled to him, and he looked up and smiled back to me. So it kind of made me happy. Maybe I made his mood better. And then luckily, like, and a day later after that, I ran into him again. And this was in the elevator, and this time I was looking down my phone, and I looked up, and he's the one who looked at me and smiled at me. So it was kind of like a cool interaction because, like, now I have like that little tiny relationship with that person, even though it's just eye contact. He smiled back to me, which also made my day a bit better because it reminded me of the experiment. But obviously, there's also bad in this experiment, and in this, one of the bad parts of this experiment were obviously people ignoring me, and it felt kind of bad when people ignores you because you obviously want the attention and them to acknowledge your respect towards them. But that was like the worst part, but not the worst part. The worst part of the experiment, which is the ugly, is that I was at a study lounge with one of my peers, and I said hi. I didn't say hi. I looked up to this one girl. She didn't seem very happy. She looked kind of annoyed, and she might have took my stare incorrectly, like if I was trying to dog her or something. But it looked like she was upset with me because I was looking at her. And I wasn't sure if she was talking about me, but she kept glaring at me like very often in the study lounge, which made it extremely awkward between me and my friend and other people because they would like look up, stare at me, and then look at each other like if they're trying to talk about me. But I wasn't sure if they were talking about me, but it felt bad thinking that I was trying to show someone respect, but it ended up backfiring, like if it was something like I was trying to disrespect her. But overall, this experience like taught me many new things, and I learned how to feel ignored and how to feel acknowledged. And this feeling allows me to be a better person myself because I don't want anyone else to feel ignored when they're looking at me. And it's very important for like everybody to acknowledge like simple gestures of respect. And there's certain people we might accidentally not notice. We might accidentally really we didn't really notice their look towards us. And it happens and we get ignored, but we can't allow that to affect us. So overall, this experiment was very successful in my point of view because it also helped me experience these things that I usually wasn't really comfortable doing, and especially looking up at people who I didn't know. That was kind of awkward at first, but now it became much more easier because I thought about it as an experiment, but now that I see it wasn't as bad as I was in my mind thinking, so now I obviously am able to look at people and genuinely smile and show respect, maybe not like verbally, but physically and mentally.
Great, thank you. Okay, what would you like, sir?
Hi everybody, I'm Owen.
Hi, Owen.
I think the good thing about her speech is she feels really relaxed and really fluent. Also, she smells, and that's good.
She smells.
Smiles.
Smiles.
Smile, yeah. I was gonna say, you have a good nose. Yeah, you have a good smile, yeah, good, okay, good, good. Okay, thank you, Owen.
Hi guys, my name is Perla.
Hi, Perla.
I really loved your speech, Idalia. I think the only thing I would recommend is you do say "and" a lot, so maybe in the future try not to use it as much, and your speech will flow a lot better.
And what was the second thing?
It will just flow a lot better, the speech.
Yeah. You're very likable speaker. You have a nice smile, so that's something you don't want to lose. Okay, so keep that. Yeah. You didn't walk 3 times, and I'd like to see you walk now 3 times as you tell us about your morning. So you got up, and let's see you walk 3 steps to the right, and then come back and walk 5 steps to the left, and stand and talk a while, and then come back to the center and talk a while. So tell us about your morning, Idalia.
Well, my morning started very early. I woke up at 6 a.m. because I have practice at
That
night.
wasn't 3 steps, that was So do it again. And remember, you step with the foot you're going in the direction of first. So that would be your right foot. You never cross. Okay, good. Okay, start it again.
Okay, my morning started really early today. It started at 6 a.m. because I have soccer practice, and we start practice at 9, but I like waking up early because I've always woke up early. And I also had breakfast. Well, I didn't have breakfast. They gave us oatmeal, so I had oatmeal before practice. And then I started training from 9 to 11. And then I took a shower in our locker. And then we had I had lunch. And then after having lunch, I came here.
Yeah. Okay, pretty good. What I want to say about your walk is when you get to the spot, stay in the power stance. Okay, and stay there a while, stay there for the whole, this would be the good, the bad, the ugly, and conclusion, see? Let me talk about your speech and give you some feedback so you can improve and do it even better. You started off by saying you've done some experiment and you basically indicted the millennials, I guess, for, trashing regular interpersonal communication in favor of the electronic, right? Yeah. And then you went on to talk about how difficult you thought it was going to be to do the I respect you mantra. Yeah, okay, don't play with your hands or your fingers, just keep them comfortably by your side. You did give the thesis, as I have been saying to others, a little more emphasis with your voice on the the narrative, so that stands out. On the good, yeah. This was a charming encounter that had a 2-time or 3-time, maybe 2-time or 3 times, I guess, where you did a smile and then you smiled later, and that was a good contact. I'm assuming you're repeating the mantra over and over again as you walk around. That's part of the giving off the good vibrations, right? Not just, and the eye contact can't be too long or it will seem, and I don't know if that's what happened to the girl in the study lounge. Maybe she thought you were dogging her or doing worse to her and staring at her in a weird way, So. On the bad, yeah. We all, I warned you we're going to be ignored, and the girl in the study lounge, that was unfortunate, but you reported it, and that was good. I liked the comments you made about what you learned, so that was good. And my only other thing would be to have a tie back to your introduction. So go back to where you started and say, so let's try to get away from this, putting our earbuds in and our telephones on when we walk out of class. Let's try to have more interpersonal communication. But overall, you did a nice job. One thing I want you to watch tonight on YouTube is why you didn't, you stayed in one spot. You were doing a little like this, a lot of just, you seemed to be really wanting to sway. It was like you were really holding it in, so be aware of that and just try to stand still, okay? Very nice job, Idalia. Thank you. Next, you're next, great. How you doing?
Doing okay?
Great. Nick. Hi, Nick. Nick stands before us. You're a little close to the wall. One step over that way. Yes, here I get you in the camera. There you go. Nick stands before us, managing attention, making sure all telephones are away, computers are closed, all eyeballs are upon you. You say the mantra to yourself, I respect my audience, and really mean it. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Nick.
Hi, Nick.
Alright, so have you ever been in this situation where you come across someone you think you've maybe seen before, but you're not entirely sure that you know them? Next thing you know, you're locked in awkward eye contact with them, waiting for them to make the first move, or for you to have that spark of recognition so that you can lead into a friendly conversation. Well, that was exactly the thing I was worried about, that awkward eye contact when we were first assigned by Professor Miller this assignment. As an introvert myself, I feel like it's tough for me to engage in conversation with others and to be the first to make a move. But as it turned out, not everything was bad. There were also some good moments that I took away from this experiment, which I'm going to be sharing with you right now. So for the good, there are two main things I want to highlight. First of all is that this experiment really reiterated for me the importance of respecting other people as well as yourself. Sometimes you're not going to be in the best mood, and that's okay, because the way you portray yourself to others and respect them is going to also reflect back on you. An example of this is when I went to Chipotle last week. I was engaging with the employee the first thing I walked up to the counter. I smiled at her, she smiled back at me, and it was a friendly exchange. I didn't end up with free guacamole or free queso, but I mean that's okay because we're not always going to be rewarded for doing the right thing. Second of all, this was more of a concrete experience for me. As I was walking down to my apartment gym last week, I came across someone on the treadmill who I had seen before. He's a tall Asian dude, and I had seen him a couple of times, but we had never really engaged in extensive conversation. So this time, I popped out my earphones, and I started up a conversation with him. And in that brief exchange, I learned a couple of things. I think the craziest thing was that not only had he graduated from USC, his father had graduated from UCLA. And as a UCLA student myself, my dad had also graduated from USC, so that was kind of like a mind-blowing moment right there that we shared. And I guess the second thing I learned from him as well was that he had been rehabbing an ankle injury that he had sustained while playing soccer. And soccer is one of my passions, so we were able to engage in the conversation in a more personable way, which was really cool. And as I was saying before, not everything turned out to be good. There were some awkward moments, and I guess that's to be expected. An example of this was that actually last week while I was shopping at Whole Foods, I came across someone who I'd seen before in class. This girl was actually in this class before, but I don't think she's with us anymore. So we made eye contact, and I was about to say something, but I didn't have the heart to say something, and we kind of just both went our own ways and continued shopping. So I guess for me, being in the right mindset was difficult throughout the experiment, and especially compounded with the heat, which I'm sure you guys have all felt. This whole summer has been hot for us, for me especially, coming from Seattle where it always rains. And so that was the main bad thing that happened for me. Finally, the ugly. I don't really think there was something ugly that I experienced throughout this experiment, but the hardest thing was just staying in a positive mindset and making sure that I was engaging with other people in a respectful way while also trying to recite the mantra in my head. So all in all, I think this experiment really reinforced for me the idea that awkwardness is an inherent part of communication. Whenever you're interacting with other people, you can't always expect it to go the right way. And for me, I think that speaks to something that my high school teachers would always explain, which is to embrace awkward. And I don't really remember why they said that, but it just stuck with me, and I think it ties into respect because there's not always going to be great and comfortable conversations, but you still have to respect the other person regardless. And
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
back a little bit. You're really intruding. No, not to the wall, but yeah, right there. Yeah, you came forward. Oh yeah. So did you speak?
Yep, I did.
Okay, hi.
Hi everyone, I'm Nia.
Hi, Nia. Oh, Nia. Don't call me Nia. It's Nia. You touched your knee.
Right, that's how you remember last time.
Oh yeah, Nia.
Okay. I think you spoke really well and you kept a good pace throughout the entire speech and your voice was really clear.
Yeah, good point. Nia. Improvement.
Hi, I'm Jane.
Hi, Jay.
I really liked your speech, everything about it. It's hard to find something to improve upon. I guess maybe the only thing I could say is maybe project a little bit more at a different part of the speech. That way, like you can tell the difference. Like if you feel more passionate about a certain part of it, like your volume kind of remained consistent, which was really good. But I feel like it might have been a little bit more impactful if you like switched your volume a bit.
Okay.
That's a great point, Jade. Yeah. I like
It was
that.
so good.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Nick, yeah. You started with that moment we've all had where we run into somebody and we think we know them, but we're not sure we want to go up to them and actually chance it. So that was sort of an interesting rhetorical question, story, situation that you started with. You introduced yourself. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, I want you to notice that you didn't really make it a real crisp and clear preview thesis. So I wanted it to be more sounding like, so this afternoon, I'm going to tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly. You kind of meandered around on that. It wasn't really that clear. Okay? Now, your stories, keep your hands relaxed by your side, yeah. Your stories were good, and what I couldn't tell, Nick, was how you were using the mantra or the respect. Were you just repeating it? Were you making eye contact? What exactly you were doing? But it seemed to be working, and so that was good. You said you didn't have any really bad experience, so great, sometimes there will be one if you stare too long, so just you say, I respect you and look away, you don't go and stare, and that will work the best. And I like your phrase, embrace the awkward, because many people do not, and they feel very uncomfortable when they're feeling awkward. And so I like the phrase. It was a great phrase that you turned. So you did a nice job, Nick. Thank you. Just work on the narrative of it so it's clear. Okay? Thank you, Nick. Okay, do we have another volunteer? We do. Fantastic. How you doing today there, John?
Good. How are you?
I'm great, yeah. Oh, you're in a perfect spot. Thank you. Don't move. Yeah, except 3 times, yeah. John is, oh, by the way, the person that walked in the middle of the speech, I won't turn around and look at you, but please don't do that. Listen until the applause comes and then walk in, okay? Thank you. It's really distracting to open the door, so listen at the door. If someone's speaking, wait until they're done. If I'm speaking, it's okay to interrupt me. I'm just the professor. Okay. John is standing before us in the power stance, looking very good, looking very happy. He's got a nice smile on his face. He's communicating respect. He's managing attention. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Good afternoon. My name is John,
Hi, John.
and I'm going to give you guys a speech in hopefully less than 5 minutes. R-E-S-P-C-T. I know what it means to me. A beautiful quote from a beautiful woman by the name of Aretha Franklin. In an oddly and really uncomfortable experiment by Professor Miller, I really discovered what respect means to me. Respect, we're taught to it when we're young, we're taught to it in school, but do we really know what it means? In the past, I'd say 72 hours in the past week, I've uncomfortably discovered that. And it was an uncomfortable and enlightening experience, and here is the good, the bad, and oh boy, the good. As soon as I walked out this door, I just automatically had that mantra in my mind. I respect you. I respect you. And from a stranger standpoint, and in a minority of the time, it was great. I'd smile in my head, good eye contact, and they'd smile back, at least 10% of the time. At the friend level, I didn't see any noticeable difference. Maybe it's because I have really good friends, or they just like me. So I respect you didn't really change anything. But at the family level, this is what stood out to me the most. I had the I respect you mantra in my mind, and for the first time in years, I got my dad to talk about his time in the military. And this is breakthrough for me because he has PTSD. And he was in the military for 24 years of his life. I heard sad stories, intriguing stories, and interesting stories when he was a prison warden in Guantanamo Bay in Cuba. But that's another speech. And here's the bad. So, as soon as I walked out this door, having the I respect you mantra was kind of disheartening. Because I would look at people, they have a great outfit, they look nice, like, I respect that outfit. And like, they'd just be looking on the ground, or listening to their phone, or just like ignoring me. And like, it really kind of broke my heart that there's this polarization of people that would return that human interaction of a smile, and then there's just people that are just on their phone, just not caring. At the friendship level, people kind of thought it was weird, but that's how I usually am, so I was okay with it. And at the family level, I didn't really think of anything bad. But oh boy, the ugly. So obviously having this type of I respect you mantra is out of the norm. It requires a never give up attitude. So I had this I respect you mantra in jiu-jitsu practice. And I did it in the worst possible time. We do this thing called sparring where it's just live action, try to kill your opponent. And in the middle of my spar, in the middle of the 2-minute 30 mag, I look my friend in the eye and I say, and he was just weirded out, and the round ended with him putting me in a Kimura and bruising my left elbow. And for those of you that don't know what a Kimura is, you know how your elbow bends this way? He would have been that way. And I guess that's just a metaphor for how dangerous it is to respect people in an explicit way. So what did I learn? What did I learn from respecting people? What did Aretha Franklin mean when it says, I know what respect means to me? Well, at least from my standpoint, and in the past week, and more specifically, 48 hours of that week, is that the respect I have for my family is reciprocated substantially. But the respect I have for people that really don't care about me is almost non-existent. And I guess I'd like to end this speech the same way I began, an uncomfortable, I respect you communication studies experiment. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
That was 3 minutes and 46 seconds.
3:46.
And I
Thank
have
you.
the other ones written down for you.
Okay, well, just tell me. We won't go back, but
Okay.
just tell me from that. Okay, next comment, please. Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
I really like your speech because I think it's totally full of energy. First, and you have like your voice for the entire speech, and you have a very good division in terms of you breaking down to the good, like bad, very clearly. And yeah, totally have my attention throughout the speech.
Yeah. Those are good points. You did hold the attention of the audience, and that's something to be proud of, yeah. Not everyone does. Let's go here, please. Yes?
Hi,
Your hope?
Nicole.
Oh, Nicole.
Yeah.
Hi, Nicole.
So, I mean, you manage it really casually, I guess. Maybe it's a little bit too informal. It doesn't come off as aggressive, but I think you have a tendency to put your hands on their hips. Yeah. Like match the energy of your speech, but I don't know.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. Yeah. Hmm. If you step back just a little bit, maybe bend my camera. Yeah. Okay. Straighten her out. Yeah. Okay. 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 Well, gosh. Were you aware of your hands on your hips and all that?
I just did it. I want to pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're a likable guy, and you started out on a positive note, and you got the thesis loud and clear out, so that was very good. On the good, you said you were gun-ho walking out of the classroom. I like that. And you said about 10% of the people sort of responded a little bit, which is pretty high actually for, walking around. Your friends were, didn't notice really. That's kind of interesting because sometimes the friends say, "Why are you acting so weird?" So I guess you were subtle about it, and that's good. I really love the family story and the story about your father and Gitmo and all that. That was worth the experiment, in my opinion. That's good stuff. So keep it up, yeah. On the bad, yeah. Looking down. The ugly, yeah. I told you not to do anything that would get you killed or injured or fired, so you disobeyed my instructions and you were injured. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good place to be practicing passive respect. But I could be wrong. David Carradine, the Kung Fu guy, had all kinds of funny ideas about martial arts. Your conclusion and what you learned was well spoken. Just remember to try to work in, if you can, a tie back to some kind of vivid beginning, and that would be good. But overall, a good job. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, do we have another volunteer? We do. Fine. This must be Nicole. Okay, that way. Yeah. Get you. Here we go. Okay.
I think you click on your face, focus.
Okay, help me. Help me make her light.
You click on the darkest.
Click on the Vargas.
No, on the darkest part of the picture.
Oh yeah, is that her here?
The shirt.
Her shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, make this. Oh, there we go. Is that good? Thank you. You'll be my lighting. Okay. Thank you. Oh, you keep moving. Can you move back? Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's good. All right, Nicole stands before us. Managing attention, making sure all eyeballs are upon us. communicating respect non-verbally. Say to yourself, I respect my audience. Really meaning it. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
So my parents just moved to a third-floor condo, and there were a lot of people walking through in the last few days, dropping off furniture, installing the TV. A lot of people I'd had to greet and to whom I'd had the chance to silently send my respectful greetings as instructed. More than a couple of these interactions happened in the elevator, where most of the time, after trying for an uncomfortable smile following momentary eye contact, all I could really think to myself was, thank God there's no elevator music. Anyways, at the end of this, I concluded that nonverbal communication of respect can be awkward without the accompanying verbal interaction. And let me tell you about the good, bad, and ugly encounters that resulted in this conclusion. So first the good, which involved a man who dropped off a nightstand for my younger brother's room yesterday morning. Now, whereas I might have normally greeted someone shortly, maybe a little crankily so early in the morning, I made full eye contact when I met him at the gate and practically chirped, hello, good morning, at him. And that must have made him a little uncomfortable because he laughed and didn't respond and also didn't hear my follow-up, how are you? And in the absolute silence of the elevator ride that followed, he kept his eyes fixed on his clipboard, and I kept resisting the urge to cross my arms to express my discomfort. But then, at the door to my parents' unit, he stopped and asked whether he could enter. And I admit I was a little taken aback at how unassuming the question was. I mean, I had walked in without looking backwards, fully expecting that he'd presume to enter our home without asking, as his job required. But the question made me smile, and I thanked him for asking, and we eased into talking about camping while he assembled the furniture. And I realized that respect is easy to reciprocate. Anyways, I thought it was a good start and a good conversation. And later that afternoon, though, the bad, I held the elevator for a straggler when there were 4 other people waiting inside, one inside a little impatiently. But the woman that I held the elevator for thanked me. And because I was so focused on sending my respectful vibes or my feelings of respect, I kind of neglected to respond and nodded a little belatedly, which was awkward enough that I resolved to be a little bit more natural. So when we reached my floor, instead of just hopping out and escaping the situation, I turned around to look her in the eyes and wish her a good day, but she pushed the elevator door to close. And like go on her way. So I'm not sure that she felt that I respected her. My quiet feelings of respect was also mistaken for ignorance during one encounter. This would be the ugly. So I was waiting in line at a Korean restaurant to order lunch, and I was ready to brightly address the cashier. But in the short silence that I took to make eye contact, she really impatiently switched from speaking in Korean to speaking in English, assuming that I didn't speak the language. And it made me feel flustered enough that I stumbled through the order. But I thanked her before walking away. In reality, I was a little bit annoyed, so I guess verbal communication of respect can be insincere without the actual nonverbal sentiment. Anyways, in thinking about the good, bad, and ugly reactions to this investigation, I think that respect between strangers is definitely something to strive for, but nonverbal communication of respect seems to be most effective, or at least easiest, in the context of verbal communication, like when we're participating in a conversation or listening to a speaker. Verbal declarations of respect alone can be inauthentic and weird, just as nonverbal implications of respect alone can be uncomfortable and off-putting. The best outcome I learned, at least in my experience during this, was when both verbal and nonverbal respect were expressed.
Thank you. Time.
4 minutes and 15 seconds.
Hi.
Hi guys, I'm Kelly.
Hi,
Hi,
Kelly.
Kelly.
So I thought your speech was really cool. I liked that you kind of kept up with your stories. Like it was almost not necessarily chronological, but it was all in similar context, and I felt like that made the speech like really easy to follow. I also like that at the end you thought of kind of a solution to the investigation. It wasn't just like, I learned that, you know, like this works and this doesn't. You thought about like what would make it better in that situation to like improve your communication.
Okay, thank you. Hello?
Hi, I'm Aurora.
What's your name?
Aurora.
Aurora.
Yeah.
Aurora.
Yeah.
Aurora. Okay, hi Aurora.
I love your speech and your fluency. I mean, your story is interesting, but I think you can put your voice a little bit. Maybe sometimes you can make the voice higher and sometimes lower, and you can make some. If you want, we ask to pay attention to you, and you can get a higher voice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you, Aurora. Nicole, yes. I like your speech. I like you. You're a likable person. I can tell you're a good person. I like your little joke about the elevator music, and you sort of laid the context for how you tried to use this social experiment. I'm not sure it was the best place to do it, but hey, you know, you take what you have. So you started with the nightstand man, and that got off to kind of a rocky start, but it sort of had a happy ending, I guess. Right? So that was good. I guess the bad was you didn't quite pull it off in the elevator. So, but that just comes with practice. You know, I think I shared with this group, I'm not sure, but I got an elevator and did the I respect you to a much older woman, and she said, "What do you want?" Oh my God. And I just said, "Have a good day," you know. Oh my God, I was really misinterpreted. So, yeah, and the Korean restaurant where I guess you wanted to show off your Korean language skills, but could not, and you were miffed. I don't know, you know, I don't know. I didn't get how respect played into this, except you should have just given the lady respect for adapting to what she thought was I don't know, what's the word, gringo, or whatever the proper word is, non-speaking something, whether, I don't know what the proper word is, but non-speaking Korean or non-speaking, you don't speak Korean. She just assumed it, you know, and so she was adapting to you. So give her that, you know. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then what I learned, I agree. You sort of struggled with a solution. I want to say one last thing about your movement. You didn't move very well. No, you didn't. And so I'd like to see you do the movement now with 3 steps to the right. So tell us about your morning. 3 steps to the right. Stay there a while and talk. 5 steps to the left, way over there. And then come back to the center and keep talking for a while. So remember, you lead with the foot. You're supposed to be stepping, and you always cheat forward. You don't turn your body away from the audience. And by the way, I want to second what I'm going to murder her name, Aurora said. You need a lot more vocal variety. You have a little bit, don't take this wrong, a little bit of a monotone, you know, can put people to a little bit, lull people into a little bit of So work on, you know, high, low, fast, slow, so you're more interesting to listen to. Okay? Yeah. So tell us about your morning.
Well, this morning I woke up pretty excited because later this evening I'm going to go to LAX to pick up a friend who's visiting me from Colorado, and I'm really excited to take her to eat Korean barbecue here in LA and everything. And after that, I went to Staples to get some things printed, and actually somehow relevant to this respect.
That's not 5.
Okay. Relevant to this respect.
4. Keep going.
Experiment. Actually, he ended up not charging me for my 10 sheets of paper printed because we ended up having a good conversation that started because I made full eye contact and was generally polite, I guess. And before I go pick up my friend at the airport, I have to go to a meeting for my job.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's better. Now you can feel the difference.
Yes, yeah.
And the point is, when you're over here, you work this side of the room and glance over there. When you're over there, you work for that side of the room and glance over here, okay? Thank you very much, Nicole. Okay, do we have another volunteer? Has the roll sheet finished circulating? May I have it back? Yeah. Thank you. Alicia. Hi, Alicia.
Hello.
Alicia Keys. Here. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Alicia stands before us. Oh, just a moment. Stay there, stay there, stay there. Managing attention, communicating respect, saying to herself, I respect my audience and really mean it. Say your name till the love starts.
Hello, my name is Alicia Ariano Perez.
Hi,
Hi, Alicia.
So today I'm going to discuss my experiences throughout my experiment on communicating respect non-verbally throughout this past week. So before I actually get into the good, the bad, and ugly, I'm going to discuss on how I communicated respect non-verbally. As Professor Miller said, that we should communicate verbally non-respect with a nod and simple facial reactions. But I decided, as we left out the class, I decided, why not add a smile in there? And the reason I did is a smile is because of 2 reasons. One, because as human beings, we use body language to interact with other people, and that's a very nice way to communicate non-verbally. And it's also a checkpoint for me to actually say, I actually did the assignment. Because knowing myself, sometimes I forget, and sometimes it slips by me, so adding a smile in there is a nice way for me to say, or check back and say, I actually did the assignment.
Good.
So I'm going to talk about the good now. So the good, I volunteer at UCLA Ronald Reagan, and every day when I go to work and check in on my shifts, I usually nod and smile to everyone else, and everyone smiles back, and everyone's polite, and it's the norm for all volunteers to give respect to your coworkers. But on August 8th, I got a really great experience. My supervisor told me that I was going to be working with another volunteer. And so as I was introduced to her, I smiled and I nodded at her, and immediately after I did that, she gave me a really big hug and told me that she really appreciated my gestures, she really appreciated my smile. And then during our assignment, we had a very nice conversation, and she actually opened up to me saying that she really appreciated my gestures even more because she felt that most volunteers usually just ignore her. So it was very nice for me to give my respect and full attention to her. And when we came back from our assignment, our supervisors felt very happy with what I was doing. So they actually gave me a little reward, which was a lunch pass, which I was really excited about that, but I wasn't really working towards that. I just really liked the experience with my co-volunteer. And so it was a really rewarding experience. However, there were some really bad experiences. So here's the bad. And actually, it was in the same evening. In that same evening, there are dance workshops. And for those of you who don't know, dance workshops are like dance classes. And UCLA has many dance workshops every day, and as a dancer, I go every night. However, this dance workshop that I was hosting that night, my old dance team that I'm not so on good well terms with was hosting that night. And two of the executive directors I'm also not in good terms with. But I decided to go anyway and show them my respect in rebuilding that connection that we lost by communicating respect nonverbally. So as I arrived, I looked both of my friends, former friends, in the eye, nodded, and smiled at them. However, although I showed them my respect, they just stared very angrily, they stared even longer, and they just practically ignored me for the majority of the workshop. And I felt really upset and really sad because that really demonstrated how much friendship that we lost throughout the past year. However, I let it go and I decided that, you know what, maybe they're still upset, maybe just give them more space and maybe I'll try again next time I come. And then the ugly, it was more so, it wasn't really an ugly experience, but it was really embarrassing for my aunt and for the audience. For my birthday, my mother wanted to take me to a beauty salon to treat me out for my 21st birthday. And the woman that was attending us, she spoke Spanish. And as she was showing us and telling us the procedure of the beauty facial, I nodded and smiled and showed her my respect and giving her full attention. However, it was really embarrassing for my aunt and for hers because she understood it as I didn't understand Spanish. Because I found out that she told me and my mother that she understands Spanish, they understand what she's saying. And I told her that, oh, I'm sorry that I did understand you, I was just giving my full attention and listening. And we were able to clear things up, thankfully. But it was really embarrassing because although I was giving her my full respect by smiling, nodding, listening attentively, for her, she misunderstood it and took it as I didn't understand her. So what I learned this past week was that body language is very important and that smiling can do a long way to go. And sometimes people have very different interpretations of how you communicate non-respect, which is a smile. Some people really appreciate it, some people don't like it, or some people may take it the wrong way. And for me, it's very important that whatever response that you get doesn't bother you that much.
Thank you. 4 minutes and 48 seconds. Wow. Next.
Hi, my name is Gavin.
Hi, Gavin.
So I feel like you did a really good job of grabbing my attention on your speech, and your voice has many ups and downs about your emotions. But I feel like so you were avoiding to make eye contact with the audience, and I think if you can improve on this, and it will be better. Yeah.
Okay. That's good feedback. Improvement. Hi, Carolina.
So, I mean, your speech was really good. Like you said, very engaging with your tone of voice. But you can tell that you're really, really nervous, again, because you are avoiding eye contact. And when you're standing in one place, you kind of sway back and forth. And then you also don't seem to know where to put your hands, which I definitely understand because that was an issue I had when I was presenting. But overall, I really liked your speech.
Okay. Well, guys. Take your hands out of your pocket. Let's talk about this eye contact situation. What's that about?
I just get nervous, and sometimes I panic, so I look away.
Where do you look? Like you're an
straight.
actress above the crowd? Yeah. No, Nanette. Yeah, that's a bad. So we're going to practice making eye contact with you. I want you to go up and down this row, starting with me, and then the second row. And the optimal time is 3 to 5 seconds, and if you blink, I'll start the clock over again. So no blinking, because that breaks the connection. Can you look without blinking? Right. Okay, so, and you have to talk. Tell us about your morning, and then when I hit, you can go on to her, okay?
So this morning, it was actually
Don't move, just stand and deliver.
So this morning was actually a pretty rough morning. So I had a very disagreement with a roommate of mine, and it was all during a group chat. And it was very uncomfortable and awkward because this roommate was my best friend, and it was very awkward because I wanted to wake up this morning very relaxed, very happy, and stress-free for this speech. However, this entire morning, it was very hard because she was sending me all these messages, and it was very hard to stay focused and stay non-stressed. So it was very difficult for me to have a really nice morning. So after that, I made
Nia
breakfast.
now.
That's it.
No, do Nia.
So yeah, after that, like I made breakfast, and then after that I went to Powell, just relaxed and used the computer for a little bit. And then after
JD's.
that, I went to class and I listened to everyone's speeches and tried to learn everything that I
Okay.
could.
Stop. Did you feel the difference?
Yeah.
That's what I want. Okay. So we'll get that next time. Okay. If you go to a job interview and you don't make eye contact, you're not going to be hired. They're going to think you're shifty. Okay. So, word of the wise. Alicia, you sway and stay in the power stance, get your feet wider, and when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you're going to see, you're really moving a great deal. So try to work with that in practice until you're a live person that you don't want to sway. Maybe lock your legs a little tighter so you don't come forward and sway and back and forth and sway. But let's talk about the positive now. I like you added the smile. I hope that this all included the silent mantra being repeated a great deal. I respect you as you're walking around. I think the mantra is really effective. I think to jump ahead of the story, I love the Ronald Reagan story, by the way. That was awesome. That's a great story. You got a lunch pass or whatever, which is great. On the bad experience at your dance team, I could be wrong, but I think they may have interpreted your smile as kind of a smirk and kind of the wrong way. And I just think maybe that got you in trouble. So, could be wrong, but I don't know. And the beauty salon story was unfortunate, but you dealt with it. I like what you observed about what you learned, so that was good. I like a kind of a tie back, so next time try to start with a poem, a quote, a story, or a joke, and then come back to that in the end. Nice job, Alicia.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another volunteer. See, we have to leave time to see the film speech. Do we have time? Yes, we do. We have time for a few more. Yeah. And yes?
Can I be a volunteer?
What?
Be a volunteer.
What? Oh, good. Come on in. While you're coming forward, sir.
I don't know. I was just a little bit nervous about it. Yeah.
You need a stapler. Good thing I brought the green meanie.
Oh yeah.
Whoa, whoa. Who does not have a letter? Someone emailed me and said they don't have a letter to know when they speak. Who is that? A, B, or C?
Yeah.
A group letter, yeah. Okay. So you're the only one? Okay, you'll be an A.
Okay.
What's your name? I'll put it down right now. What's your last name? What's it start with?
L.
L? L-I-U?
No,
Oh, down at the bottom. Okay. All right. So problem solved. Okay, good.
All right,
Whoa,
so
let's do the drill. Okay, put your arms and hands where we can see them. He's standing before us in the power stance. Oh boy. Oh my Lord. Go back up, yeah, back up. I can do this. Oh, good, thank you. Oh, so I have to do this with you. Oh, good. Oh, I'm learning so much. And, stand over that way a little bit, yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. My lighting director has made you perfect on the screen. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, how do you say your first name?
John.
John?
John, yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the roster is Jiao with John.
But you go by John.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I like people that assimilate. Let me see. John. Okay, John. Welcome.
My name is Gavin, but the name on the roster is Jiao with John.
So you go by John. Or do you want to be called Gavin?
Gavin.
Oh, Gavin. Okay, that's even better. Okay, yeah. I like Gavin, yeah. Gavin Newsom, he's running for governor. Okay, Gavin, rock and roll.
All right, so I'm gonna start a speech right now, and there's this saying that goes like, the body language is the best picture of the human soul, which gives me the sense of what a good talker is supposed to be look like when it comes to me having a conversation with different individuals or just me listening to others speaking. So at the Allcast, when I was assigned to conduct this experiment, I was a little bit confused. To be honest, I wrapped my mind just to come up with a reason that can convince me as to why I should talk with others, I should respect them without saying it out. So later, I found the reason and the pros and cons of this experiment through persisting in communicating, respecting non-verbally with everyone I met for the last few days. And I'm gonna share that on some of my findings, including the good stories, the bad stories, and some lessons I took from this experiment. At the Allcast, I found it quite hard to take this experiment seriously, since everyone I talked to were staring right at my face, looking like they were watching my every move. Soon I told myself that I have to make it. Inside my brain, there was a voice reminding me to respect every person I was having a conversation with. Here's the good story. So one day, I came across an old friend walking on the street, and both of us just stopped walking and had a conversation. So during the conversation, I respect him. I whispered to myself that I have to respect him. And we had a conversation. I looked at him, paying attention to what he was saying and looking for his feedback. It seems like the action of respecting someone else non-verbally has laid a solid foundation in my ability to communicate effectively and make me and other people more confident in sharing information with each other. So I feel like it's very important. And so here's the ugly story I'm gonna share with you. It can literally make you piss off. So last weekend, my friend threw a party at his house and invited us to participate. So we went there, we had the party, we had a lot of fun, but the aftermath of the party was like this thing where, the devils broke the hell. Like everyone was just so drunk. It was pretty noisy and chaotic. And there was a drunk dude lying on the ground, and he was crouching there with his face against the carpet. And one of my friends, he was from Korea, international student there, and he just walked to me and walked to the person and called the person to stand up and leave friendly. But that person just jumped from where he was lying and used his fingers to poke at my friend's chest and said a blue streak of swear words. So many swears I could not, put up with. So I really hope that I would have that chance to push him off and let him get out. But soon I realized that I shouldn't lower myself to the same level, a jerk same level. So I just, I walked up to him and I advised him to leave the room in a peaceful manner. But everything ended up, going out of control because he was not respecting me, he was not listening to me, and he didn't even look at me. And he continued bothering my friend, and nothing changed. So, however, this experiment still got a positive impact on me. Because after this experiment, I learned that, the nonverbal communication really matters. Nonverbal communication can be our gestures, our body movements, our eye contacts, and so on and so forth, with which we can use to respect others. So body language sometimes really matters because the human language in the human beings is just like, sometimes it's a way to disguise your feelings, your motives. But the body language can be a way to, just make others feel respected, to make others feel the message you want to deliver. And the second thing I want to mention here is actually how to make eye contact with others to make others feel respected. As we all know, in interviews in person in most of the cases will not, pay attention to others speaking and will not tune in, and which will, as a result, will, do harm to that kind of relationship, and the bad consequences sometimes cannot be reversible. So, if we really want to respect others, we want to make others feel what we want, what kind of message we want to deliver. We have to, respect them non-verbally. And this is very important, as we can say, if you don't respect others, just like some people will throw you. So the language per se does not work that well sometimes, and it can be a way to prevent communications. But body language can sometimes be better. Yeah. And in the end, what I want to say is the body language has its own meaning, even though sometimes it's not very friendly, but at least it may become an integral part of our personal qualities, and its importance can reach the heights we have never imagined. Also, I want to say is, if you haven't noticed how important it is to make others feel, then what you talk to that person, it's time to start to practice your non-verbal communications. It really matters, as is known to all of us. The body language is the best picture of a human soul. Thank you.
6:45, you went way over. Oh my God. Okay, comment please.
Out of yeah, I love your speech because I love your gestures and love your story. I'm with it. As well, yeah. And I think by now, I would suggest that you have more facial expression, your smile to your audience, and things like that. And I think your speech is a little bit long. You should bring it down. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Improvement? Yeah. Hi, Cindy.
I like that you're maintaining eye contact, but I think sometimes when you're thinking about your speech, you would have the tendency to glance upward. So just make sure to keep the eye contact at all times. And then at first you seem a little nervous because
Okay, Gavin, I like your name. Yes, great name, yeah. Let me say this to Gavin and to everyone else. Please don't wear white shirts to class when you're gonna speak, because you blend with the screen. And all we see is your head, okay? So no white, okay? No white, people, white, no white, no white, no white. Stay away from it. We'll have you borrow a sweater from someone, yeah. Well, gosh, okay, let me just do this quickly. Yeah, when I give a prompt, you know, when I say you're supposed to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, you follow that prompt precisely. So you talk about the good for a while, and you talk about the bad, and you talk about the ugly, and you talk about what you learned, and then you sit down, okay? So you need to be more precise and follow the outline. This was more of a stream of consciousness. You were all over the place. You had some very good thoughts in there, but they weren't well organized. And you have to be better organized in the oral medium, or people can't follow you, see? Thank you. Okay, will you take out your prompt for your film speech, please? Here, let's see if we can. Let's see if you can film it on the film. Can you try that? Film the film.
Okay.
It may work. All right. Does everyone have the prompt out? Yeah, no. Everyone have the prompt out? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. You can write on this so you take notes. The purpose of this speech is to learn to make an emotional connection with your audience. Why do we want, what is an emotional connection? Why do we want to do it? Anybody? What's an emotional connection? Yes? Say your name.
Hi, my name is Idalia.
What's your name? Idalia.
An emotional connection, and especially in films, it's when you relate into like certain sentiments of like a human, and usually it's with children, babies, or animals. And like I don't know if you guys seen that commercial about the animals in the shelters and the music they use and the type of like environment they put it in the commercial. So it connects to us emotionally. I don't know why, but it allows us to feel like bad for the animals and make us want to donate or help.
I send them $20.
Yeah.
That's a great example. Thank you, Idalia. They know how to make an emotional connection to pull with your heartstrings. For those of you that have started reading your text, your sticky text, you'll know that one of your chapters, one of the things that your authors from Stanford have found is that one of the keys to making a speech sticky, i.e. memorable, is that it will have an emotional element in it. And you'll be able So, did you all get to hear the question? Shall I repeat it? You heard the question? You heard the question? Okay. How would we go about making an emotional connection? How would we do it? Yes, please.
Hi guys, I'm John.
Hi, John.
I guess like when I think of having emotional connection, it's just like with any person, like share a part of yourself, your story,
Right.
like a song.
Share a part of yourself. Yeah, you share your emotions. Yeah. And what I have you do in the form of using the film as a mechanism for remembering emotions is that I have you think of a film that really moved you. It made you laugh, made you cry, that inspired you in some way. So think. What's the last film you saw that really moved you? And what we do is we wonder why the film moved us. Why did the film move us? It moved us because it reminded us of something in our own life. And so what I'll have you do is relate something in your own life to the story in the film. A quick example will show you what I mean, and then I'll play a speech for you, a film speech. And by the way, if you type in Thomas Miller film speech on YouTube, on my channel, about 20 or 30 hits will come up, and you can watch various film speeches and get some ideas for how people did it. Okay? But not all of them are, some of them are uneven, some of them are very good. So, what you do is, for example, what was the movie Marley and Me? Anybody, people remember that movie? It was a dog movie, right? Plot spoiler, the dog died. Do you remember?
Are we allowed to talk about the movie? Because that's what I'm actually doing now.
Oh, I'm allowed to talk about it. Yeah, I'm using it as an example.
Okay.
Yeah. So, one of the things you might say is the first way the film moved was it made me cry. The incident in the film that made me cry was Marley the dog died. The reason this made me cry was it reminded me of when my dog died. And then you go into detail about how you lost your dog, or your cat, or your grandmother, or your grandfather, or somebody that you love. And you relive the emotion. I call that felt sensing. Okay? Everyone get that? And you do that 3 times. Okay? All right. Well, we are waiting for this to come up. Well, that's warming up. Be thinking, everyone write down a film that you think you might want to do, and we'll go around the room in 2 minutes and you'll say the title, okay?
And so I emailed her, and I'm kind of freaking out because today's the last day to record. So it's